Hello everyone, my name is Uthris and welcome back to another episode of Medieval Engineers. You guys might be wondering, why are we down on the ground, not in the air and floating islands where our airships and wonderful city that we're working on in creative mode is? And that's because I wanted to kind of talk about survival mode, where it's at now. It has been a while since I looked at it and even talked about it, and then also what I kind of hope that they introduce here soon after the bug fixing phase is over, because what I see is a lot of hype kind of dying down because the bug fixing phase is of course pretty dry and boring kind of updates, though it is necessary. So to start out, we'll just go over some basic harvesting and things of that nature. I went ahead and built a small little, I guess you could say, a forge. Doesn't really work, and a workbench, not really necessary, area. But those are to illustrate a couple points here in a little bit. So the main thing that you're going to do when you first start survival mode is generally harvest a whole bunch of trees. Trees are the most important and hardest resource to get at the moment because they're just time consuming. You're going to hit at them with an axe. You're going to chop down the tree. The tree is going to fall on. You yell timber and hopefully not kill yourself with it. You're going to then chop at the tree and cut the wood into logs, like so. And you can pick up the logs at this point, and generally I'll move them over to a stockpile to be refined down into their other stages. Now logs can be refined down by holding right click while you are holding the axe, and there you go, and it just becomes a timber. And then right click again will become a timber round, and then left click on this will just destroy it down into scraps. Scrap wood you use to basically lay down designs of blocks. So they are a handy little resource to have on you. The new inventory system has been cleaned up a little bit. Things are a little bit more streamlined. Eating is a lot quicker. You don't have to drag it onto the actual eat symbol anymore. You can pick things directly up into your inventory as long as you have room. So for the scrap wood, my inventory is full at the moment. I can carry only about 9 with all these other tools. Everything's based on volume, just like Space Engineers. In fact, if I had enough inventory, I could technically pick up a log and put it in my inventory, but the character doesn't have enough inventory base to even do that. You can't pick up timbers or things, but you can store them in chests. So if you like pick them up with your hand tool here, and then come over to a chest, even though I basically covered up that one. We come over here and press T again. You can store it inside that chest, and you can see how much volume it has there. So storage, pretty tough. Generally with lumber, you're going to keep it in log form and then use it as you need it. Laying down structures, fairly straightforward still. You just go into the G menu. Not everything still has recipes and things like that. Very limiting. Of course, this is one of the main reasons as well why I don't have a survival series going. But as long as there's enough material in your area or in your inventory, now you can notice this is a little bit different since you can actually put things in your inventory. I can build a little bit away from the base and plop this down. And so to just show building, put it closer to the supplies here. And it will generally search your inventory and area around the structure for usable material, and it will generally put down a frame of the item you built. You get out your hammer, you left click on the block, and it will consume materials. Now, of course, these numbers to the right, they do mean things. Their definitions are above, so the first column is installed onto the object. The second column is required for the object to be constructed, and then the right column is the available objects in the area. So you can see that we have plenty at the moment. You go through timber very quick. That's just something to note, and again, it comes back to you're going to be gathering a lot of timber initially. And that's essentially how you build. There's no real good scaffolding, and so what I do generally is just use stone stairs, because they just only require scrap wood to place. You don't even need to complete it. It essentially acts like a block you can walk on just fine. It's functional. It doesn't have any hit points, so if it takes any damage, it just breaks. So as you can see, it just breaks if I do that. So it is pretty flimsy kind of stuff, but luckily you can usually pick up the broken bits and move them, but there's not a really easy way to clean up in survival mode. Generally things will despawn over time, or you have to wait for things to break. Conveniently, there's a random barbarian coming over, even though it's not nighttime. Their AI, still pretty poor. All you have to do is kind of strafe around them, and you will kill them very easily. He happened to be carrying food, which is great, because I need food, as I was about to run out. Another change with the inventory system. You can see everything around you in the area. How far away it is from you. You can sort it to cargo, chests, ground, or all. I generally leave it to all. And it's just easier to find things like that. And you can just drag it as long as you're close enough into your inventory if that's something you want to do. Now, talking future for medieval engineers. Right now, this is pretty much it. Barbarians come at nighttime, you defend your territory, you continue building. They're going to be breaking stuff, and you're going to be repairing stuff. You're going to be harvesting a lot of resources to build, from mining or harvesting trees. Essentially, both are the same. And then beyond that, there's no way to, say, craft tools or more advanced items besides this. Now, what I would like to really see is things like this, where you have workstations or places to construct more advanced items from maybe catch blocks, you know, because this, in my opinion, would be much better constructed in a workbench and then just carried in your inventory to be placed. Same with catapult heads, windmill blades. Yes, but you probably couldn't fit it in your inventory. Same with projectiles, the barrels, the chests, the beds. Maybe not all the torches, but some. Of course, wheels. Kind of advanced tools and objects would need, in my opinion, a workbench. And how I want them to do this, and I don't know if you guys saw my Terraformer Craft episode lately about me talking with Steve, which I don't like crafting systems in most games, because what it is this: you put items inside the bench and then you hit craft on the item that you want, and you just watch a bar progress. What I enjoy is a little bit more of an active. Some people call it a mini game. I don't really see it like that. I see it as more of like your character is actually doing something and it adheres to gameplay. Now, some mini games are stupid and very mini game oriented. But if you take, for example, the blacksmithing and terraformer craft, when we actually get to it, there are plans built into the workbench, and you load the workbench full of items. So that's what you would do, of course, and the workbench can't hold a whole lot of items. This is kind of like a test of what a workbench would look like generally. And when you load items on the workbench, what I would like to see is the items to actually kind of physically pop up. And be non-physical, just be decorative, just to show that there's stuff on the workbench to be used. And then when you use the workbench itself, your character, you know, a menu will pop up, because that's kind of the best way to do things like this. And for Terraformer Craft, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be selecting the recipe that you want, and then that recipe requires a certain thing to happen. Now, again, to quote, I guess, back to Terraformer Craft, is there's a set of rules for each item that you're going to be blacksmithing. And in blacksmithing, of course, you'd be over here, you'd have your anvil, and maybe a bucket of water and things. And what you would be doing is essentially you're going to be heating up the metal, which you would take it out of here and put it into the forge. Heat it up to a certain temperature to be workable. You put it back on the anvil, and you would be hitting it with the hammer through the UI to bend it, to stretch it, to fold it, depending on what you need, and there's a combination of what needs to be hit in what order and in what timing for that item to be made. For this game, you could even add maybe a water barrel feature to where it has to be cooled to kind of finish it. And that's what I would like to see. I want to see active crafting. I do not want to see bars going across my screen. It's fine in Space Engineers because Space Engineers is the future. Machines are building things. But for this, I want me to feel like I'm the blacksmith. I'm the one crafting stuff. I want to be immersed in that role. I want to be achieving that and getting better as a player of like heating metal and then going through the motions to craft something, and then heating metal and going through the motions to craft something else. And then as you memorize those steps, maybe have an option to where you don't even need the pull down menu to select the item. You can just go through the steps and it just pops it out. Now, that's definitely what I would like to see. Again, maybe the workbenches have its own little storage, as I said, hence why I put a little chest connected to our work table here. And you can see items on the table, things like that. And for wood crafting, of course, you would have a vise or maybe a lathe or maybe some different crafting tables to do different things to the wood first before you take it to the wood bench. But I just want something, solid and gameplay oriented and not just wait around oriented. Now, the problem with doing stuff like that, I'm sure people are going to bring up and say, well, how complicated is too complicated? Of course, to start out, you don't want things overly complicated to get yourself going. But, to do heavy weapons like maybe the metal sword that's in the game or the crossbow, you're going to have to do multiple workbenches just to get that crossbow, or multiple workbenches to get that sword. But you could maybe only use the normal workbench to make this mace because it's basically a stick with some metal on it. That would only require a forge and a workbench. Forge to get the metal, a stick to be a stick, So, I hope you guys enjoyed my little talk here. I don't really usually share my ideas quite as openly as this, but I feel like I needed to get that off my chest, as today was an update day for Medieval Engineers, and, again, it was bug fixing, and I feel like the hype is just dying down as it would, but I really hope once they introduce crafting and maybe some more mods come in to maybe expand on it or add additional modded blocks, things will become more interesting. I love just the look of this because it looks very natural. It looks realistic because what happens is these workstations just kind of form naturally just from need, and need drives design, and that's generally how I design most of my things. I may not take them to full detail because I build very large constructions. I'm not building this one single thing really refined down, at least at this stage. In survival, maybe I would, because I'd be living in that one building for a long time and you'd add detail as you wanted it. And, you just make it your own. I guess I'm rambling on here a little long. But I do hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts, and you guys can let me know in the comments down below what you think crafting should be or how it should play like. If you like my ideas or just like my ideas, that's cool too. And until the next episode, I'll see you guys later.